thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking time out of your day.
Dude, I appreciate you having me.
Dude, you just won the CageSport Featherweight title against Talon Hammonds back on August 10th, CageSport 58. People are calling this fight of the year, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. It was a fun one.
Yeah. And now this was a rematch between you guys, right? You guys fought back in December of last year. How'd that first fight go?
So the first fight, I had broken my hand pretty quick. Actually, snapped my thumb and had to go get surgery and stuff like that. But I snapped my thumb in the first round. And then we deep into the second, we got to an exchange where he went for a Kimura. And I'm a pretty flexible guy. I've been there about 100 times,
Sure, yeah.
So I started trying to climb my hand up, and somebody in the crowd started yelling about he's tapping out, and the referee thought it was us. He stopped the fight and goes, "Wait, that wasn't you? That wasn't your corner?" No. I'm sorry. And then after about 3 or 4 months of contesting it, all they had to tell me was, "Well, referee's word's final." So
of course,
I was So it kind of sucked because I was on a win. I would have been on, I want to say 5 or 6 fight win streak.
Yeah.
But I got it back. But man, it sucked because at that time I feel I would have, my confidence tells me I would have beat him. So I would have been 7-2, right? Or if I at least got it overrolled 6-2-1. But now I'm back sitting at 6-3 and trying to climb the ladder from here.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, how'd it feel to get the win then? Obviously that was a rough first go round, but now it's got to feel good.
Yeah, it was really good. I was prepared for it. I knew the whole time it was going to come. We knew how he was going to fight. We knew that he was a really strong and aggressive fighter. So we game planned for it. We call it the way I got the nickname Game Time is the late rounds. That's game time. I've always been a cardio athlete, so I'm not a huge 45er. I walk around 55, 60, but I train 2-3 times a day, so it's stay around fight weight,
Nice.
But I got him into those late rounds, and once I saw him shaking out his arms, and once I saw it, I saw the decrease, and that's when it became game time, man. I started yelling in the cage, game time.
Come on.
So
That's
I
awesome.
felt like I won once we hit the third round.
Very cool.
But
now, will us fans get to see that trilogy fight, or have you just kind of moved on and that's not really an interest of yours?
It's a hard one because he took the rematch. I did have to go a little bit out of my way to get the rematch. I went to social media because I knew the power I had behind it when the rematch got denied, and he took it. So he took the bait.
Right.
But
sure.
the trilogy, I'm not opposed to it. I told him go get a fight in between because that's what they had me do. I went and right after my surgery, I had the fight in December. I had about 3 months off from surgery, and then with surgery plus camp, and did a fight, knocked out Jake Ray at Cage Sports. And so, if he goes and gets a fight and comes back up, I'm all in. But man, I came out here to Vegas, actually the week after my fight, just to come hit the iron while it's hot, and I'm trying to get my name out there. Some offers in New Jersey for a title out there. Yeah, so I'm just really, I'm looking at my options right now, and I'm looking for some good management or something like that to kind of get into those next big shows. So every step we take now is good strategic,
Nice.
So if he's included in it, then great. If not, I'm out here just trying to make my name, man.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to ask, so when are you looking to get back in the cage? But it sounds like maybe shooting for later this year, maybe November or something like that on the East Coast?
I'm trying to get at least one more. I made a goal before I fought Talon Hammonds to get 4 to 6 fights in. And Talon would be, Talon 2 would be 3 this year. So the surgery set me back a little bit. So 4 might happen this year. I'm the New Jersey card at the end of September. So it'd be a quick turnaround. But I'm not opposed to that. I came down here and I've been training like I'm in fight camp. I'm training at over to 10th Planet Las Vegas in the mornings, going over to Extreme Couture at night and working with the team and getting some great rounds out here. And man, these guys are some top-notch guys, you know.
Yeah.
And then I went to I got to go see the UFC Performance Institute with Evan Dunham. He took me over there to go check it out. And then we went to the Contender Series after. And I tell you what, man, I watched. Yeah, it was legit, man. It was in the UFC Apex building. I felt right at home. I felt right where where I belong. You know, as far as my next fight, we're gonna line it out to just be the best move. You know, if it takes me a few weeks to come up with something, then everybody else can kind of wait. I got a lot of people calling me out for the 45 belt at Cage Sports already.
Of course.
So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, good, man. I mean, you told me you were down in Vegas this week, so going to the Dana White Contender Series and heading over to the Performance Institute there, hanging out with Evan Dunham and Couture, man. How's this, experience going for you?
Dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. It feels just how I feel like I wanted, like I was planning on coming over this way in October, but as soon as I had this fight, I met Casey Halstead at the fights, the owner of 10th Planet Vegas here, and he invited me down there. And so I got home, started brainstorming on the possibilities that could come from going to Vegas, and like booked my ticket that night.
Come on.
It's been amazing, especially because all this has been funded by like some help from my friends and help from it was my fight money paying for all this, and I bought this trip with fight money, and it feels great. It feels like I made the right move.
Yeah. So, I mean, how'd you get started in MMA? I mean, obviously, you just said you started at 17 years old. That's pretty rad. But what made you decide to ultimately step into the cage there and then fight as a career?
In high school and stuff like that, and I started at like Taekwondo when I was 7. Went up with my sisters and all that, and they were young, and we went into it. After that, I went into just normal sports. Our parents had a separation, so I went kind of through my thing, and went into high school, and I went and checked out gyms a few times. It was always in me, to go there, to go into those. But after getting in a bunch of trouble in high school, and getting in trouble with the law and stuff like that, I got out of trouble too. And when I did, I moved away, and then I moved to Newport, Oregon with my aunt and uncle, and they had prenatal twins, and I had actually made up 2 years worth of school in 2 weeks. Online schedule to play sports my senior year, when they told me I couldn't. They told me it wouldn't be done till like midway through the year, but maybe I can graduate on time. But I really gave it everything I had and got it done in 2 weeks. So I got to wrestle my senior year, and then my aunt and uncle had an emergency situation that they had to go back home to Eugene, and that was a place I got in a lot of trouble. So I was pretty scared about coming back, and didn't want anybody to know I was back. So actually, when I had to move back, I enrolled in school in Monroe, which is about like 30 miles away from my home.
Right.
Oh, I was going to high school every day out there, and I was living with my mom's ex, who got me into fighting. The thing was, I'd come home from practice or I'd come home from school and go straight to the gym. And that was my way of like staying out of trouble. It was, if I'm always in school and I'm always in the gym, I have no time to get in trouble. So I started doing it, in about like 4 or 5 months in, I was training with the guy, Corey Agner Wyatt. And man, this guy, I don't know if you guys know about him. He was like 24-1 as an amateur or something in 2 years, 3 years, like 2.5 years. And then went like 4-0 as a pro. Yeah, he was a rare specimen, man. Sure. And he kind of believed in me in that route too. And so within 4 months, put me in my first fight at 17 out at Rick Story's gym, Brave Legion. I went against just another debut guy and smoked him in like a minute. And I knew then, like before that, I was on track to go sign up for the Marines, and actually tattooed, laser removed off my hand and all, and I had a fight, and I was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And here we are 8 years later, and this is all I do now.
Man, what a cool story, dude. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome, man.
Heck yeah.
Where are you based out of now?
So I'm based in Eugene, Oregon. After about, I want to say it was my third fight, I went down to, I was 1-2. I'd gotten to 1-3 as an amateur. Then I was like, man, I needed to step up my game. I was still young. I was still like 18, 19, fighting grown men. And if you asked me at the time, I'd tell you 145 was 145, but it's a whole different story of grown man strength.
Right, yeah, totally. Totally.
So I went up to Team Quest when Corey had to go away for a little while, and so I lost my coach, and so at 18 I moved to Portland to go train with Team Quest, and I went and Team Quest Tualatin with Chael Sonnen when he was getting ready for Jones. Got to meet a lot of the old fighters and all that. Like, it was around the time Uriah Hall was he was there. It was his group of Ultimate Fighters. Yeah, and then I went from there. Team Quest shut down. I went over to Animal House MMA with Enoch Wilson, and man, Enoch Wilson was a game changer. He was he was a mental coach out of anything. He would talk about, like, I was performing well in the gym, then I'd freeze at my fights. We called it the fog of war, and he trained me so hard to break that, like, underwater drills until I was puking up water and then jumping back in. Really push myself to the limit to show you what you're capable of. And then after that, I went on. I think it was like a 6-fight win streak. I did 2 more with Enoch, and then had to move back to Eugene for financial reasons, and then started training with Jason Georgiana at Art of War. And man, that guy is amazing. I tell you what, like, I messaged him when I came back. I told him, like, hey, I don't got a lot of money. Like, I really just need to train. It's not safe for me to be at home without training. Like,
right? Totally.
And Jason, he was like, well, come check out the gym and, let me just see what you look like. And he had me go in for some sparring, and I held myself really good against the top striker at the gym at the time. And, after that, he took me in and brought me under his wing. He raised me up since I was 19. And 5 years with Jason, man, and this guy is so structured. And I've watched this team at Art of War grow so big. We went, at one point, I was one of the only guys who was, like, consistently on the team. We'd have drop-ins, but who got ready. But I was the only guy. And then now we've got a full pro team. We got a full amateur team, and we're running shows from here to Hawaii to Tacoma and coming out everywhere. We got pro champs. And so we're going to be one of those gyms that are like a big gym in the UFC, but one of us got to make it first, and that's all it's going to take. Is once doors are open, Art of War is going to be known, man. Like, I'm telling you, I've seen the best. I'm seeing the best, like, I went to BJ Penn's gym. I went to, just traveled around and looked. I've always liked to get different looks, man. I'm for sure Art of War is my home base. No matter if I'm coming out here for a week or so in Vegas, like, I might insinuate this into my training camp, if I can get the right sponsors to fly me out here for a week or two. But Art of War is going to be my home base for a long time, man, until we're running that UFC title.
Come on. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love to ask this question, especially as me not being a fighter, but you being a fighter. Before you head out to the cage for a fight, what's going through your mind, man? Are you nervous? Are you scared? What's happening there?
Man, I'm a head case, man. It's silly, but I puke, man. I get like the happy nerves, but it's not. Part of it's nerves about my opponent. Part of it's nerves about just hoping that I perform, because I like to talk my fights up. I'm my biggest promoter, So
sure.
I talk a lot on social media about how I want to win fights and how I want to do this. Well, when you talk, you got to hold yourself accountable.
Right. Yeah.
So, as I tell myself, anything I like to think of it as like, humbleness tells me only speak what I can deliver, and confidence tells me to just deliver and execute. It's so I get nervous that I won't perform like I want to, but it always comes out, man. I'll be back in the backstage running around, getting my thing up, and then next thing you know, I'll go puke and walk out.
That's awesome.
And it's a normal thing, It's just nerves get going, but when I get in that cage, man, everything is just like slowed down and enhanced. It's funny because my ADHD is like my superpower, man. I've had problems my whole life, struggled because of ADHD, but I found a place where it worked great.
Yeah,
it was like in there. I can't focus on one thing, but I have multiple things that are stimulated from the adrenaline. So I'll be in the fight, man. I'll be talking to my coach while I'm in the middle of an exchange and asking him what he wants, how he wants me to move, and what kind of positions. I'll just sit there and wave. I'll see people in the crowd and kind of have fun and play around, and just the whole time I'm in there, man. It's so the nerves go away when I'm in the cage, but right before the cage, it hits me. But then my walkout song comes on, and my arms and legs start doing their thing, and I just go out and go about my bout, man.
Come on. That's awesome. I mean, Donald Cerrone, he says that he pukes every time before he gets into a fight, man. So, I mean, the nerves just got to be crazy. But it's, obviously you puking before, man. Same thing as, the guys who are in the UFC fighting. And man, I can't imagine. But I love being on this side of the cage and watching you do your thing, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think about George St. Pierre says the same type of stuff, man. Whenever I start getting the fears, I think I'm like, okay, but so does GSP. So like if and like you talked about his fight with Matt Serra, how he'd be up like he didn't sleep for almost a day and a half before.
Right.
And then I heard stories like his fight with I think it was Dan Hardy or something, and one of the guys had to go like get him out of the bathroom, be like, George, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll knock me out. So, but
that's awesome.
If a guy that great's getting fears, then this sport, it's about fear. But man, my life has embraced me to face fear. I've been through the ringer in life, man. Like fear just kind of looks like opportunity to me, I get scared and everybody gets scared. So it's just what you do when you're there. Just like cardio, man. I tell everybody every time, I know maybe my cardio is better than I give myself credit for, but I tell people it's not cardio as much as it is. I'm tired. He's tired, but who's going to break? Right. What are you going to do when you're tired? You can start shutting down, or you can work a little harder to hold your hands up and buckle down, Yeah,
absolutely. You kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but fighting is just as much of a mental game as is it a physical game. What do you do to prepare mentally for fights?
I'm a huge believer in visualization. I'm a huge believer in meditation. And so leading up to my fights, I like to go out in the woods. I like to go walk on trails, go to waterfalls, and think of, try to just find things to compare to life out the waterfalls. It sounds silly, but it's just, it's flow for me, man. And then I visualize a lot. Before this last title fight, it was funny. It was in 20 fights. It was the first time I got put in a hotel room by myself. And how that was going to go. I usually have somebody keeping me calm because I'm a little bit of I'm an active person. But man, I was walking around the hotel room, picturing what it's going to feel like to have those girls put the belt around my waist, picturing what I want to say after. I visualize what it's going to look like after I won. And that's how I go into these fights, man, it's all up here. If you can't even see yourself with the belt around your waist, you won't get it, especially me, man. I see it coming, and when I got a goal, I don't stop until I get it. And so if an injury happens, a broken thumb, I'm going to keep fighting. A popped out shoulder, I'll keep going, man. It doesn't matter how I get there. I already saw where I'm going, and so that's my mentality. And my brand is visualize, execute, achieve, and inspire, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with this, man. I've visualized already. I've seen the end game. I want to be my goal is I want to retire and be in the Hall of Fame by 35. That's 10 years. So, and now it's time to execute, get it done. And then what I want to do is, like Muhammad Ali talks about, this is a platform. And so for me, this is all for a bigger picture. That's another mental part of this game is they might be looking at me as an opponent. I look at them as a stepping stone to the next step, They have to beat them to get to the next order, so there's no question in mind whether I'm going to beat them because they're just a part of my path. If I do fall, well, I'll get back up and get back on my path. That's just who I am, And so I think about that a lot. I think that I got a lot of local guys who keep trying to call me out and stuff, but that's the difference between me and them is they're thinking on these small scenes. They're thinking of guys like me. I'm thinking of guys that are up in the top of the UFC. I'm thinking of guys who are far ahead of me. I'm not looking backwards. So, if you don't see that end game, then you're not in the same race as me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a couple fun questions for you. I saw a picture with you with at least 3 different title belts. How many belts do you actually own now?
Four. So in my amateur career, I went pro by 21. I had told myself when I started training with Enoch, I had won my first belt. It was funny how it went, actually, man. I was 18. I went down to, I was 1-3, went down to Rogue in California, and I fought for them. Beat this guy from Shoot-A-Box real fast. And then 1 week later, I took a title fight and I gave up I guess it was some Washington promotion. So I gave up 10, 15 pounds for a prior agreement because it was a dropout that I got a last minute call and like, hey, your fight, it's Wednesday, you want to fight this Saturday? Sure. Yeah. And went down, got that. And dude, it was super cool. And then, so at 18, I got my first belt with Inc. And then, we made the goal there that, I was talking pro. And to slow me down a little bit, he goes, well, get 3 titles. Get 3 titles and then pro. And in Oregon, one of the biggest promotions is the FCFF for amateurs. Right. And so one of the titles had to be an FCFF title. So after that title fight, I did a few more fights that weren't titles and then got myself into the title run for FCFF. I went down and they were trying to set me up, for their poster boy. And I saw exactly how it was going. They put me in another guy who I didn't have the most impressive record, so they put me up against this other guy who was okay for a vacant title. And I knew the whole time they had this plan to bring their guy Nate Serrate in, and Nate Serrate was one of the top guys around at the time in the amateurs. And I knew that they were going to get one of us to win the title and bring him in to beat him. And I showed up, and I whooped the piss out of the dude, out of the original guy, and then I rolled my ankle. I rolled my ankle in the fight, and so. And instantly I get back the next day and I tell the promoter about, man, I went to the doctor. I'll be ready for my rematch right away. And he's like, oh, I already gave the fight to Nate Serrate. Like, I knew you would. But then who I beat up, he was super humble and super nice. He told everybody when he got on the mic, I didn't win that fight. And so he actually vacated the title and made it so Nate Serrate would have to fight me for it. And so I went in and, man, it was a Rocky show. I went in and the whole crowd wearing Nate Serrate stuff, I took and I beat him in the 5th. And it was funny as heck. Round 4 and 5, I look over, he's got his hands on his knees. And I was ready, man. I ran out to the center, started pumping up his crowd. Let's go! And then I watched the break. Like, then it was round 1 again. And then, so beat him and then came back and got a belt. So I got that FCFF belt there. Then came back, and there's a local show in Eugene called Midtown Throwdown. And I got a belt there for fighting undefeated Marcus Chisholm in another war, man. Like, I go into these wars, and they look pretty dirty from the outside, but that's how I fight, man, is like, I'll make it nitty and gritty until the end. But so that guy got the belt, and then it was time to go pro. I collected my 3 just like I knew I would, and then went on to the next shows, came in and beat a few times. I made a debut against Brennan Crow, and he's a California fighter who he had some amateur titles and was a big guy, and I smoked him. And then went on, fought Daniel Elliott on King of the Cage. I got a little bit too big in my head, and I thought I was going to finish him off, and he threw a hook and knocked me out of nowhere. I had been down to the cage, and he just threw a haymaker without looking, and it caught me. And then after that, fought Steve Southern, and I thought I won that fight. I had everybody in the crowd thought I won that fight, but he cut me up it, and so he got the judge's decision. And so that 1 and 2 as a pro, and I've always been the type to like look for repeated patterns. So I started my amateur career the same way with that 1 and 2. So I knew something big was coming. And then after that, I started training really hard, man. I started running my doubles every day. I quit work as much as I could. And then I started buckling down and came back. I fought Cody Hammonds after that. And we went in and had another one of those fight of the year type deals and beat him. Then I decided I wanted to start ending him a little faster. So I went against Brandon Cromartie next, and I told myself this whole time, this round 1 visualization, man. This is one of my biggest keys that manifestation is real. So Brandon Cromartie, I told myself this whole time, I'm going to finish him round 1. And he's a big stacked guy. And my coach is even telling me, like, Kevin, you're a late round fighter. It'll be okay. I said, no, round 1. I looked at the camera when it was out on us, round 1. And, I get in there with Cromartie, and we get going and go have a few exchanges. Finally, I get him pinned down to the cage and start beating up on him in round 1 with 1 second left in round 1. He yells out, I'm done. 1 second left. I got that round 1 finish.
Come on. That's awesome.
Yeah. And after that, went on and I fought Travis Cavalli next, and I ended up knocking him out with a liver shot, with the knee liver shot, and then came back. So I was doing okay back on my, and then I fought Tyler Hammonds and had that exchange, with my thumb and then that moment, and then after that recovered, came back, fought Jason Gray, knocked him out, came back again, beat Tyler Hammonds. Now it's only up from here, man. And cool part is I know it doesn't show on the record records, but I got my Talon Hammonds that beat both Daniel Elliott and Steve Southern. So the two people that I have my loss against, I got them back in my mind.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to also give you an opportunity, Kevin, to give a shout out to sponsors, teammates, coaches, anything like that.
Dude, heck yeah. Right now I want to thank everybody over at Art of War. They've been helping me get ready and grinding with me so hard. Every single time each of us get an opponent, we have practices where the whole team is coming up with ideas on how to beat this person. It's never just one-on-one. It's the team versus our opponents, you know, and that's what makes it such a great gym. Thank you to the longtime sponsors like Evergreen Roofing and Brad's Cottage Grove Chevrolet. They've been helping out so much throughout all my camps. Since I was 19, man, they've had my back. And then, thank you to 541 Customs, they're my newest sponsors for a 3-fight deal. And I'm actually just got started with a new sponsor that I was really excited about. I got New Leaf Hyperbarics in my corner now. So I'm going to be doing hyperbarics recovery leading up to and recovering from every fight. I'm a really big advocate of taking care of your body and taking care of your brain. And what hyperbarics does is it helps recover from the fight, not just your body, but also your brain. I don't know all the science behind it, but yeah, it's basically just they use it for all sorts of different things. And, you know, it's really been a game changer because I want to do everything I can to preserve what's up here. I tell everybody who's a young fighter in this game is age doesn't necessarily matter in the sense of when you come to this arcade, you're still spending tokens every single time you go get in there. And when you're out of tokens, you're out of tokens, man. Like if you come in from 20 to 35 and have 20 fights is still 20 fights on your head, you know, like, and that's what I feel like a lot of fighters should pay attention to. Like I do a lot of cognitive training, and I actually like go to school to study neuropsychology just to learn about everything that I can up here. And if I could tell any fighter, you know, it's like, just any advice, man, is it's really work on what's going on up in your head. You don't want to be one of those future cases that they're studying on the CTEs and that stuff, man. So being aware of your situation, not banging it out, sparring every day, all that kind of stuff is, you got to be really smart in this game because only the smart survive.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, Kevin, it's been an honor to talk with you, man. I'm excited to see your career, dude, especially that Hall of Fame moment for you here within the next 10 years. Absolutely, man. Thank you for taking time out of your day to talk with me. I appreciate it.
Man, thank you, Eric. I appreciate you a lot for having me.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging around. Really appreciate it. If you'd like to see more videos from Top Rated MMA and the Bearded Biz Show, please click the playlist and also hit subscribe to our channel. Become part of the Top Rated MMA and Bearded Biz community. We would really appreciate your support. Also, please leave a comment below. I will read and respond to all of them. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.